Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Infinisation and the Infinite Ally and who speaks through the Infinite Ally initially. All right, specifically the moment they come through the door. All right, so wait a second, Scott. What are you talking about? Infinisation and Infinite Ally. Yes, these are two terms that I coined to talk about the huge change that came in Dungeons and Dragons through the Quest for the Infinite Staircase Dungeons and Dragons canon hardback that launched on July 16th, 2024. Massive change to Dungeons and Dragons. And I apologize, but you'll have absolutely no ability to understand anything in this video if you do not know what Infinisation and an Infinite Ally are. But it's easily fixed. Click on the link below, and in one video, you will fully understand what Infinisation is and what an Infinite Ally is. Thank you. For the rest of you, let's talk. All right, okay. So the player character, right? Becca's player character, human male fighter, comes through the door in the game room. Okay. Now, the moment that is a player character walking through an IRL door. Okay. So let's talk about this because this is important to understand. Okay. So first of all, this has never happened before in all of Dungeons and Dragons because Quest from the Infinite Staircase didn't exist. Okay, Quest from the Infinite Staircase brought this entire situation forward. This has never existed before, right? So this is completely new territory. Okay, so we understand a player character, right? The player character is their speech is controlled by the Dragon Master. Okay, and when the player character speaks, the Dragon Master, determines their words. Does that change when the player character comes through the door and becomes an Infinite Ally? No, it doesn't change at all. The Dragon Master, who created that player character, controls the speech of the Infinite Ally the moment they come through the door. But things are going to change. But let's talk about just that moment when they come through the door. So this Infinite Ally walks through the door, okay? And you're like, Scott, this is really unusual territory. Remember, this is not unusual territory for American culture. First of all, I will admit, any other country in the world, I don't think anyone in any other country in the world has any context for what we're talking about, right? I would highly not recommend this be done anywhere else. Not in South America, not in Canada, not in any international country in the world. I don't think this is brand new, and just like every other major innovation in the world, America's got to be on the bleeding edge of this, right? Like, we need to work this through, and then the rest of it's coming for the international world. Like Canadians and Brazilians can do this. You guys need to wait 2-3 years until we work this out in America, in my humble opinion, right? Because this is truly the bleeding edge of American culture and narrative and manifold sentience. Okay? All right. The player character comes through the door. The moment they come through the door, they cease to be a player character, and they are an Infinite Ally to the Dragon Master who created that player character. And I actually think what's best is that the moment the Infinite Ally comes through the door, the player character says, Dungeon Master, thank you so much. Every other Dragon Master, thank you so much for bringing this Infinite Ally to my side. I really appreciate everything you guys have done, everything you gals have done. Thank you so much, right? You say thank you, and you immediately leave. You immediately leave the campaign, okay? Now, why is this? Why? Well, because what's happening is so outrageously complicated, right? You are now forming a permanent bond with an Infinite Ally, right? And this has never been done before in American history. This is a full embrace of Gary Gygax's full legacy, right? Like, This is a player character coming to the IRL to be an infinite mentor, and to be an infinite ally first, an infinite mentor, an infinite companion, an infinite friend, an infinite advisor, an infinite witness, an infinite observer, an infinite philosopher, an infinite, there's like, the list goes on and on and on, right? And this relationship is outrageously complicated and on the absolute bleeding edge of social innovation, emotional innovation, spiritual innovation, intellectual innovation. Most people will have no concept to understand this, even if they saw Ryan Reynolds' movie, If, which fully 100% validated this, right? Exactly the same thing. Like, the movie If was Ryan Reynolds, who's the #1 star in America right now, saying adults should have imaginary friends. I 100% agree. I wouldn't call them imaginary friends. I would call them infinite allies, right? And this isn't just make-believe the way Ryan Reynolds is talking about. This is a systematic approach to catapult from manifold sentience to an infinite ally relationship. Right? This is the cutting edge of Dungeons and Dragons, in my humble opinion. All of this was manifested on July 16th, 2024. In July 16th, 2024, when Quests from the Infinite Staircase appeared. And also, you're like, Scott, what are you talking about? You're right. This is extremely difficult to understand. And I guarantee you, if you've not read every page of Quest from the Infinite Staircase, you have no idea what I'm talking about, right? You're ignorant because you haven't read the 300-page book, D&D Canon Hardback, that contains the legacy of Gary Gygax, which has 5 decades of manifold sentience in it, right? So, yeah, if you're confused, it's because it's complex. All right? Okay. So, you should shut it. The moment the player character comes through the door, that player character should not talk to you or anyone in the room. That player character should leave with you as the infinite ally, because they're no longer a player character. They should leave with you as an infinite ally. And by cutting off this communication, right? By cutting off this communication, we arrive in this position where it simplifies what is said next, right? So I think what's going to happen is once you get into a private space, you should have your first conversation with your infinite ally, right? And in my opinion, that is done best mentally. There should be mental communication, not verbal speech. And the biggest reason why is this will frighten people. The movie If talked about this, right? It said, if an adult talks to an imaginary friend, that's going to frighten other people. And guess what? Oh, wait a second, Scott. Is Dungeons & Dragons frightening? Yes, it's horribly frightening, right? 2 times in American history, you want to talk about how frightening Dungeons & Dragons is? In 1983, evangelical Christians said, D&D, be gone. Burn the books. In 2023, atheists and agnostics said, D&D, be gone. Burn the digital books, right? Satanic panic, manic panic. One was over demons, one was over the OGL. There was no difference in what they cried. They cried it in the street. They said, D&D be gone, burn the books. The only thing that was different was 40 years of time. The only thing that changed was the date, right? The idea that, I don't know, Scott, I don't know if Dungeons & Dragons can be frightening. It's terrifying. People get really upset about it every few decades, right? And are like, we have to destroy the books. It happened in 1983 and it happened in 2023. Look it up. It's history. Yeah. So the reality is you definitely need to be speaking with your infinite ally mentally, right? Now, why is that good too? Because when you speak to your infinite ally mentally, right, you don't need to make up the words for your infinite ally. Your infinite ally will speak to you, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.